This is China. To be more specific, People's Republic of China. China is a very large country. There live many hardworking people in this country, and maybe that is the reason why Chinese products are traditionally sold well all around the world. But this is only one side of China that we all are more or less familiar with. In addition to its huge productive potential, China also has a unique culture and a very long history, perhaps the longest recorded history in the world among existing countries for today. Thanks to a combination of these factors, this country has always been one of the major global players, but in our era, China's global role and importance have grown tremendously. Naturally, China's role and importance for Georgia has increased as well. Only in the last few years, the relationship between Georgia and China has reached a qualitatively new level. In 2017, a free trade agreement between the two countries was signed. Georgia has joined the global project One Way, One Belt initiated by the Chinese government in 2013 and so on. Today, in both countries, there are expectations that these relations should deepen and expand even further. The opportunities are really huge, but to use all these advantages, Georgia and China first need to become acquainted with each other better. For establishing economic contacts is often not enough without understanding the culture, mentality, traditions, and casual or business etiquette of each other. Without understanding these factors, not only collaboration but even simple communication sometimes becomes impossible. A good way to get familiar with the country is to participate in a media tour, during which journalists get acquainted with the country and then share information with the whole society. The Embassy of People's Republic of China to Georgia periodically organizes such media tours, and in November 16th to 27th, a regular tour for Georgian journalists took place. I was honored to take part in this tour as an international relations observer and a media manager, and in this story I will show you China from a viewpoint of a Georgian TV journalist, and I will also try to provide you with the most important information we have received during 12 days we spent in the People's Republic. Our journey began in the capital of China. This is Beijing, one of the oldest and at the same time one of the most modern cities in the world. When you first arrive in Beijing, your attention will be attracted to the fact that whatever you see across the highway out of your car is brand new, either totally fresh or just being built. First, you might be surprised at this impression, but once you get to know this country better, you'll definitely find the answer to this question, and you'll hear it at the end of our story. But first, let's follow our schedule. The next day after arriving in China, after our unofficial trip to Tiananmen, our working regime started with a business visit to Xiaomi headquarters. In fact, there is no need to introduce this company to Georgia. Xiaomi mobiles are very popular in our country, though few people know that Xiaomi is not just a mobile phone manufacturing company. Smart robots, smart dolls, smart toys, smart lamps. This is just an incomplete list of what the company makes. In the end, all these smart products can be incorporated into the concept of a smart home, which is such an innovative project that even the Chinese themselves are curious and a bit surprised when they see and explore it. After examining the products, company representatives held a special presentation for Georgian journalists. where they reaffirmed once again the company's strategy and way to success, in particular high technology at an affordable price. And this is the key that made the company one of the world's leading vendors in just a few years. And let me tell you that if you have a Xiaomi phone, here you will definitely be reassured that you have made the right choice. By the way, a large part of the footage you see in this story was shot on a Xiaomi phone.
So we make sure everyone in the world can afford our price and to enjoy a wonderful life with advanced technology.
After Xiaomi, we visited Beijing's new Grand Airport. In China, they call it Daxing or Star of the Sea, and it really has the shape of a five-pointed star. Daxing will be one of the largest airports in the world after construction is fully complete. This project is conceived not only as an airport, but as a giant transport and logistics hub that will connect air, rail and urban transport with each other. In addition, the airport is distinguished by its eco-friendliness and realizes some of the latest environmental trends such as active use of solar energy and rainwater. All in all, such huge and high-tech projects clearly demonstrate the giant leap China has made during the last 20 years, and they also may show you where China will likely be in 10 or 15 years. Though this is not the only impression here, it's noteworthy that the Chinese not only want to build the most colossal buildings, but they also pay attention to make them architecturally distinctive. For example, Daxing Airport was designed by a well-known female architect, Zaha Hadid. It's also worth noting that, along with technologies, traditions are not forgotten as well, and all 5 terminals of the airport will be permanently hosting exhibitions of the cultures historically characteristic for China. The next location we visited in Beijing was the Jingdong Company. Most probably you may have already purchased products from China through AliExpress or some other online trading platform. There are many such companies in China. Jingdong has not established ties with Georgia yet, but if there is a mutual interest and initiative, they would like to cooperate. Observing the company's working process assures you online trading and delivery services in China are highly developed, and you do not have to worry while waiting for the product you have ordered via the internet. Visiting television station is a must-do for any journalist. Therefore, our next destination was Beijing City Television or BTV. When you look at the size and equipment of this television station, you are once again convinced that China is already among the most advanced countries in the field of technologies. But your impressions are further enhanced when you find out that BTV is only the 3rd largest television station in Beijing. Here, a TV man will definitely like the special pavilion located on the skyscraper's rooftop, which boasts spectacular views across Beijing. A journalist from a small country may even be stunned by these scales at first, but if you look at the studio and explore the filming technique, you will see a native circular track first used by Georgian film director Mikhail Kalatozov to show the effect of vertigo with a single camera. You can see this scene in his iconic film The Cranes Are Flying. By the way, this is the only Soviet movie that has won a Palme d'Or at the Cannes Festival. Needless to say, this discovery will calm you down a bit and remind you that your small country also has made a modest, though not insignificant, contribution to the development of filmmaking and directing art. After visiting the television station, we finished Beijing's tech agenda and headed to the Embassy of Georgia, which is set in a beautiful square and represents our country in a modest-sized but very fancy building. Ambassador Archel Kalandia and entire staff of the embassy are actively working to promote Georgia and Georgian products in China, primarily the wine. It's noteworthy that the embassy has a colorful wine cellar, and as we have found out, the Georgian embassy in Beijing is the only embassy in the world that has such a cellar. Another interesting fact concerning the adventures of Georgian wine in China is that in some stores in Beijing, Georgian wines are sold under the Stalin brand. Before leaving Beijing for other cities and regions, we visited the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China and were hosted by the Department of Europe and East Asia. Here, we discussed the significance and prospects of relations between the two countries, and by the end of the meeting, we were told that our next destination, namely the province of Yunnan, is a very beautiful place, but the reality still exceeded all our expectations. The province of Yunnan is located in the south of China, and it is a unique province in many ways throughout the whole country. Apart from the beauty of nature and pleasant climate, this province is distinguished by its ethnic and cultural diversity. There are a total of 26 ethnic groups living here, the majority of which are found only in this province. Our arrival to China coincided with the 70th anniversary from founding of the People's Republic, so various events were taking place all around the country. Therefore, after landing in Kunming, we visited the exhibition dedicated to the 70th anniversary. If you visit this kind of event, you will discover how far China has moved forward since 1949 to the present, and you will learn more about the history of the Yunnan peoples. Here, you will also be surprised to find out that one of the local scripts resembles the Georgian alphabet. After visualizing the history and present of the region, Georgian journalists were hosted by the Foreign Relations Office of the province and other officials. At the meeting, we discussed the priorities of the Yunnan government and found out how much attention is paid to the fight against poverty, which still exists in China despite its rapid development. Later, we visited some of the objects operated within the frameworks of poverty reduction strategy and determined that China is not only getting stronger and richer in general, but is also trying to redistribute the wealth to more and more people. Poverty alleviation program is taken so seriously here that even the highest authorities of the country are involved in promotion and strengthening of the shops and other objects run for this purpose. For instance, as we found out, Minister of Foreign Affairs himself once bought tea in one of the tea stores in the city of Jinping, opened within this program. During the discussion held with the government of Yunnan, we also discussed possibilities and ways of cooperation between the province of Yunnan and Georgia, which is clearly a promising idea, especially in the field of tourism, due to many evident parallels between these two lands. The meeting was followed by dinner whilst the hosts once again impressed us with unique Chinese cuisine, decent hospitality and attentiveness. The true beauty of Yunnan's nature is felt in the Shilin stone forest, which magnetically attracts people from all over China and not only from China. Here you can feel almost all ethnic colors of the country, observe the traditional clothing of different ethnic groups, listen to their folk music, and so on. Therefore, we can say that Shilin Stone Forest is a real paradise for a tourist, and let's hope there will be more Georgians among them in the future. Due to its magical attractiveness, the stone forest is naturally associated with many legends and stories. For example, here you will be shown a stone related to the legend of Chinese Romeo and Juliet. In Yunnan they are called a Shima and a Hei. But their story here is as tragic and touching as in any other country of the world. Visiting the People's Province would not be complete without revealing the daily life and traditions of a local ethnic group. Therefore, our next destination was the Lingku village of Yao people. A few hundred people live in the village. Basically, they cultivate sugar cane, but they also have bananas and other fruits. People of Yao are very hospitable. A guest here will be served with the best fruits of their land. And even if your gourmand instincts are very weak, you will definitely like relatively small local bananas, and to your surprise and delight, Yao people may present the whole cluster of bananas to your group as a sign of respect and hospitality. Finally, Yao sing a traditional song to say goodbye, and though we do not have full translation of the lyrics, one can feel the mood and attitude from the music itself. After saying goodbye to Yao, we headed to the town of Jinping to see the school and children. Like the rest of the province, here is an ethnic spirit atmosphere, but the children wear red ties as well. This fact makes you think and try to understand how China has synthesized national traditions and socialism, but you will not be able to continue thinking about politics in a magic atmosphere created by children. In fact, you will notice kindness of Chinese kids back on Tiananmen, where they may give you flags and heart-shaped stickers, but after seeing Yunnan schoolboys and schoolgirls performing, you may reject all your principles regarding distance between camera and object and may even take a selfie for the first time in your life. Yunnan left such positive impressions on us, we didn't even notice how 4 days had passed. Thanks to the authorities of the province and all those people who were helping or just encouraging us with their positive attitude, during these days, China has become much closer and familiar to us. On November 22nd, we thanked our new friends for this wonderful experience and left for Nanjing to see and examine one more side of this country. Particularly, after seeing technologies and traditions, we had come to learn more about the history of China. Nanjing is a very beautiful city. It is distinguished by its unique history and rich cultural traditions. Therefore, you will like this city from the very first glance. Besides being the capital of the whole country for several dynasties, Nanjing is located in a historic trading zone with Europe, so here you can see the past, present and the future of China at the same time and notice the unique traces of historic contacts between Western and Eastern civilizations. All in all, if you have ever traveled to Russia, as a historical capital, Nanjing may leave a similar impression on you as St. Petersburg does if you visit this city right after Moscow. There are plenty of symbolic places to visit in Nanjing. One of the main sites is the Nanjing Museum, the largest and one of the oldest museums in the country. This museum will give you a complete overview of all the periods of the long history of China, and it's very intriguing that in the pavilion, designed according to 1910th style, you will witness once again the very interesting results of contact between the West and the East. Generally speaking, in Nanjing one can still feel the atmosphere of those times when the French tongue had been playing the role of international language. Therefore, you will often hear French music in shops and hotels of this city, and you may even meet a French-speaking Chinese people in the streets. The local authorities in Nanjing are definitely aware of the beauty of their city and pay serious attention to its look and environment. There are many eco-friendly cars in the city. 80% of municipal buses run on electrical engine as well. Green cars stand out from the rest with green license plates, and you will see many green plates here. China has serious plans in this direction. We realized this when we visited one of the electric car plants, Beaton. This is the name of the company, which is of course very large. And after examining the production line, you understand that soon China will enter the automotive market with a very serious bid. In Nanjing, our trip has ended, though there was one more very interesting place, Yangzhou, another historic city close to the historical capital. I wouldn't recommend to see this city in the rain, for when it's raining, this place looks so mysterious that at some point you may even lose correct perception of space and time and consider that actually you are traveling in some parallel world. Well, China is so interesting and differently brilliant that your perception may not be very far from the truth. By the way, here in Yangzhou, you may finally get the answer to the question how this country can be very modern and very ancient at the same time.
All of this city designs, the square buildings, all of this are conducted in the past 20 years.
After you hear this, you will realize that China probably has several periods of grand renewals during its history, and now maybe we're witnessing one such renewals as well, where China, the future, is being built. In this future, China will definitely play a more important role in the world and in our country's future as well. This is the end of our story. During 12 days we have traveled across China, received a tremendous amount of information, gained important experience, went through many positive impressions, and what's most important, have made new friends. As a result of all this, we have written our modest words in the Chinese-Georgian friendship book, which will hopefully become richer and more interesting in the future. For this opportunity, it's time to thank again the Embassy of China in Georgia, its Georgian partners including the Media Group for You, and everyone involved in the management of our trip and hosting us in the cities and towns of China. Finally, of course, a special thanks to Chinese people in general for hospitality, for friendliness and for positive attitude. At the conclusion of our trip, we can formulate as follows. China is in fact even more powerful and a much more interesting country than we thought before we set foot on Chinese soil. In the future, the power and importance of Beijing will increase even more, and we should definitely explore this country much better. China can share experience with us in the field of technology, and China can play a very important role in development of our economy. But we have to keep in mind that besides all these things, China also has a unique culture which we need to study better as well, for here we may find even more wealth, scale and prospects than in China's giant economy.